It's Deborah Razzo and Courtney Jones here talking about momentum mentoring. And we've been doing this series where we're taking our mentees questions and just sharing them with you to add more value to everybody who's listening. Courtney, you got a really interesting question this week. So let's talk about it.
It's a really good one. And I think it's something a lot of people think, but don't ever ask the question. So the question was, everyone I'm talking to is wanting full retail price for their house. What am I doing wrong? Which is a great question. And it's a natural thing for us to blame ourselves, right?
It's absolutely a natural thing to blame ourselves. And, and who doesn't want full retail value?
Of course, don't we all, right? And that was
I want above retail value for my house.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is that's not always reality.
No, and it's, we've gotten into that kind of a market in the last few years in a lot of parts of the country, and almost all of them, where people are used to getting over asking price. So in general, sellers are conditioned that way. But really the thing to remember is, as an investor, you're looking for a small percentage of people who need to sell. They don't just want to sell. And so I've heard numbers as low as that's 3% of the seller's market. And I've heard numbers up to that's less than 10%. In my experience, it's around 3 to 5% of the market, which means if you reverse engineer that, you get a lot of no's before you get a yes, right? If you're talking to 100 people,
it's a lot of dialing. That's all I have to say. It's dial, right?
Yeah, and even if you're getting good and you're making offers, you're still going to get a lot of no's before you get to that yes, because it doesn't have anything to do with what you're doing or what you may or may not be doing well. I mean, obviously we can always get better at our presentation and talking to the sellers and stuff, but it's really just making sure we find those right sellers, again, that need to sell, don't just want to sell, and then marketing to them, building rapport with them, having great conversations with them, and knowing that we may have to follow up repeatedly, because in the back of their minds, I'm sure they're still going, even when they're in a needs situation, wouldn't you think they're still kind of going, yeah, but I want to hold out for a better offer, right?
Absolutely. And you know what? I have heard you on your calls, and you are a master at this. And it's all about the questions that you ask the owner, right? How long has it been since you've updated your kitchen? Like, I've heard you just in the sweetest way, like, bring the owner's mindset around to what his actual product might be, right? And usually people who are in a must sell situation want as much as they can get.
Of course.
Yeah. Also, those are also people that probably haven't maintained as well, right? Because they've been tight for however long, Yeah. I know that you're incredible at that. Maybe you can give some more insight as to the questions you can ask.
Yeah, I like to just really get to know the person and the situation, but also at the same time bringing reality, as Deborah just said, to the whole scenario. It's like, okay, sure, of course, everybody wants to get full price for their house. But if you haven't redone your house in a long time, then that's money that I've got to put into it to bring it up. And I feel like just being honest and authentic with people and saying that, like, okay, so I'll say, you know that I'm an investor, obviously. You called on my postcard or my sign or this or that or whatever. So you know that I have to make a profit. From what I'm hearing, you've probably taken great care of the house. But if it's been 20 years since you've updated, I'm going to have to go in there with a full rehab, which is a good $100,000 based on your square footage. So obviously I can't pay you what every other house out there is going for right now if I have to come in and make $100,000. And of course, I need to make a profit because I got to feed my family too, And so just being honest and upfront with people and saying those types of things and asking them the questions, how long has it been since you've updated? Hey, tell me why you're selling. What's the story? What's the situation here? And oftentimes they'll open up and share that with you. And then that way you can kind of really get to the nitty gritty of how you can solve their problem.
Yeah. And just remember, it is a numbers game. It is a numbers game. Like, you have to dial. And the one thing that we haven't addressed here is that last part. What's wrong with me? Like, I'm everybody I'm calling, what's wrong with? There's nothing wrong with you.
You just probably haven't done it enough. That's what I find. A lot of times people get super frustrated after 4 calls and then they're like, this doesn't work. And I'm like, it works. You just got to keep working it. I mean, until you've made 200 calls, I don't even think you should even start questioning yourself. If you've made 200 calls and talked to 200 people, then that's a different story. Then maybe we need to have a conversation about how you're approaching people and talking to people.
I find a lot of people get into this business because they're like, all right, I know I can make money without having money in, right? There is a way to do this. There is a way. And I know that, so many people become millionaires, through real estate. But here's the thing. It's not easy.
Oh
It's not
no.
easy. It's simple. It's simple. Call, 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 call. That's simple, but it's not easy. You got
Right.
to keep your head in the game. If
Yeah,
it was
people
easy, everybody
underestimate
would
how
do it.
much work it takes for sure.
Yeah, I think you underestimate it. So if you're in the fourth or fifth call, do 195 more.
And that sounds daunting, but it's a reality, and the reality is when you're done making those 200 calls, at the end of that rainbow, there is likely a good 10, 20, 30, 50, $100,000 profit waiting for you, but you got to do the work. It's not a no work scenario.
Right. So there's nothing wrong with you. Just keep going. Just
Okay.
keep going. That's my last 2 cents. What about
Great
you?
advice.
All right. Well, if you're interested in finding out more tips that we have for more people who are traveling along their journey of real estate, like click below, ask us a question, or come visit our YouTube channel, and we'll be happy to help you. Cool. See you later.